Hello, today we'll be discussing the structure and decoding process of Siri Bhoovalaya. Let me start with a brief recap in case you haven't watched our previous videos. Siri Bhoovalaya is an Indian text written about 1000 years ago by a Digambar monk named Kumudendu. What's unique about this text is that it is written completely in a numerical script, yet it is said to contain 718 languages. How's that even possible? And how do we extract these languages? Let me show you all of that. Siri Bhoovalaya is divided into 9 khands or volumes, out of which only the first khand, Mangal Prabhrit, is available, with the rest of them being deemed lost. Each volume is further divided into adhyayas or chapters. Each chapter contains numerical grids known as chakras, the most basic component of Siri Bhoovalaya that we will try to understand in greater detail. Mangal Prabhrit, the only volume available as I mentioned, is divided into 59 chapters, which contain 1270 of these grids, or amounting to thousands of shlokas. You can only imagine the sheer magnitude of the entirety of, of this text, including all of the lost volumes. As shown in our previous presentation, this is what a chakra looks like. It is a 27 by 27 grid that contains only numbers. These numerals, as you might notice, are between 1 and 64, and each of them correspond to a specific sound. How so, you ask? This simple substitution table gives the relation between a number and its corresponding sound. According to it, a single number corresponds to a single phonetic alphabet or sound. Here we have used the Devanagari script to represent our sound, but we can use any phonetic script according to our convenience, like Kannada, Tamil, Gujarati, and so on. The first 27 numbers correspond to vowel sounds 1 to 2 to 3 to Note that some of these alphabets, like are not used in Hindi or even most modern languages for that matter. You can learn about the distinction between Haswa, Plut, and Dirgh vowels if you're interested. The numbers 28 to 60 represent consonants, like 28 with K, 29 with K, and so forth. These last four are reserved for special phonetic alphabets. 61 corresponds to 62 to The last two are used quite infrequently, in Tamil and Persian respectively. As I've shown in this grid, each number represents a specific sound. So to start off, let's convert this numerical grid to an alphabetical one. It might seem like a daunting task, but really it's quite straightforward and intuitive. Our first number is 59. Let's go back to our table to see what it corresponds to. 59 corresponds to Sir, as you can see. So we have replaced it as such. The next number is 23. Let's go back to our table to see what it corresponds to. It corresponds to O. So our second cell now becomes O. We repeat the same for our third number, 1. 1 has been replaced by A. 16 is replaced by A. Exactly like this, we transform the entire table. Straightforward, right? This is how we have gone from a numerical table to a table of phonetic alphabets or sounds. As an alternative, we could have also instead substituted the numbers to alphabets at the end. Not to worry, this will lead to the same end result. Okay, so now we have a grid with alphabets. How do we convert it into a regular sequence of characters that we can actually read? That's where bandhas come into play. As I mentioned in our previous video, bandhas are predefined patterns that tell us how a grid is to be read. For example, take a look at this one, where we are moving in a diagonal fashion while wrapping around its edges. The second one, where we are moving spirally inwards towards the center. For our third one, our pattern simply comes from the outline of a temple that has been superimposed on top of our grid. Applying a bandha or a pattern to a chakra yields a sequence of characters, and applying the right bandha out of countless possible ones, we receive a meaningful text, or shlokas in this case. However, the entirety of the first volume is primarily decoded with just two bandhs, known as chakrabandh and navmangbandh. Think of them as two particularly useful bandhs. Both of these bandhs work like the diagonal one that we just saw. Let me explain with the help of an example. This is the first chakra of Siri Bhoovalaya. It is the one that we just substituted to alphabets. Let us follow the steps for chakrabandh on it. To decode it using chakrabandh, we start off at the middle of the first row. This is our first alphabet, A. Now to get our next alphabet, we move diagonally upwards, which means one up and one right. Since we were at the top, going up takes us right to the bottom, and then we move one right. This gives us our next letter, Sh. Continuing diagonally, we get T. I encourage all of you at home to follow along. We move diagonally once again to get A. You can follow the text obtained so far at the bottom. We continue diagonally until we reach the edge. Okay, once we reach the edge, we can't move right anymore. Just like before, we'll have to go around. So, just like that, our next letter appears on the other side. It's R. It's pretty straightforward now. We just continue diagonally once again. Notice that as we continue to do so, we are approaching a cell that we had encountered previously. Now what do? If we are to encounter a cell that we have seen previously, we simply move vertically down one. Just like this, we have dropped from E to N. And once again, continue diagonally. This covers all the steps to traverse this grid using chakrabandh. So to summarize, we move diagonally whilst wrapping around its edges. If we encounter a cell that we have seen before, we simply move vertically downwards and continue diagonally once again. In this way, we traverse the entire grid to obtain the complete sequence of characters. Now when we punctuate this sequence and replace vowels with matras as necessary, we get the following shloka. Actually, there are 5 more shlokas to be obtained from this grid, all through the chakrabandh. As an exercise, I'd encourage you all to try it yourself. Now on to our second important bandh called Navmak bandh. In it, we divide our 27 by 27 chakra into 9 smaller sub-chakras of size 9 by 9, as you can see right here. We will decode each sub-chakra individually and then combine the results. The relative order to read these sub-chakras depends on which chapter we are in, but it is the same order for all chakras of a single chapter. This displayed is the order for the second chapter. According to it, we start from the middle sub-chakra. Each subchakra is read in the same diagonal pattern that we just discussed in extensive detail, as you can see right here. In fact, it is the same one that we use for chakrabandh. The only difference is we are operating on a 9 by 9 subgrid, but the same rules still apply. So our first step is reading the middle subchakra in a diagonal pattern. After we're done with the first subchakra, we do the same process for the second subchakra, and then the same for the third. After we have decoded each of these 9 smaller subchakras individually, we simply combine the results to get our final decoded sequence. That's all. This is the first chakra of the second chapter. Try traversing it using the Navmangbandh and let us know what shlokas you get. A copy of it is also available in the description. So now we have the tools to decode any chakra of the first volume of Siri Bhoovalaya. Either apply the Chakrabandh or the Navmangbandh. Also for the first volume, all chakras of a single chapter use the same bandh, which simplifies our work even further. Also know that the shlokas that we have obtained using Chakrabandh or Navmangbandh are all in Kannada, which is the primary language of this text. In our next video, we are going to extract shlokas of multiple languages from these Kannada shlokas that we have just obtained. What we have done till now might be deemed as fascinating, but nothing mind-blowing yet. Our next part will tenfold the complexity of this text and showcase its true unparalleled ingenuity. On an unrelated note, all of the bandhas generated and the shlokas uncovered were done so programmatically. For those of you interested in our open source software, please check the description. We appreciate all volunteers. I will also be doing a demonstration of the completed product in the near future. Thank you all for watching. Goodbye.